Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today I have my second video for you guys, and welcome to my channel, Mikey Techs. Now, this is my channel where I'm going to be doing more generic tech reviews of things, and today is my second video, and it's my first ever headphone review. So these are the Fosi Audio i5s, and I got this during the Kickstarter. Specifically, I wanted to try out new headphones and thought it'd be a nice review for this new channel. Now, this is a planar headphone. It's an open back headphone. I haven't actually had an open back in a while. I think the last one I had was the HD6XX from Drop and with Sennheiser, and that was of course a dynamic. This one's going into a planar, so we're going to see how this compares. I'm actually going to be in Seattle and doing this review with my friend who actually has an 800S, and it'll really allow me to kind of experience different headphones and see what would be good. We're going to have to see what his thoughts are and what my thoughts are on these headphones. So please make sure to like and subscribe, and let's go right into what we found out. So first of all, we're going to start off with the unboxing of the Fosi Audio i5. Now, to be fair, they did a really great job in terms of the packaging. I think the box itself looks amazing, and this is really cool to see and really feel in my own hands something that was a little bit more premium in terms of the packaging style. Now, I was really curious because, this is going to be the first ever headphone, and it was supposed to be a planar. Now, I've never tried a planar headphone before, so this is going to be super exciting. I did look at a lot of reviews beforehand, even myself, right? And even though I'm reviewing it now, I actually did a lot of research at the time, kind of seeing what people's thoughts were, and so I'm curious to see if anything changed or anything's been upgraded. Now, as you can see, I actually did get the 4.4 millimeter cable because I personally like using 4.4. They also provided a 6.35 millimeter adapter as well as an XLR. Actually, the XLR is again something that I had to purchase separately, and it only fits with the 4.4, so you actually have to get a 4.4 to be able to use this XLR adapter. And stock cable is going to be a 3.5 millimeter cable. So for those that are out there, you get the 3.5 and then you get the 6.35 jack if you want to use something a little bit more with neutral sounding. Now, the thing about this cable that I really appreciated was that it's like a non-tangling cable. It's actually really cool. I love the quality of this cable because it's just an amazing quality. It's thick, it doesn't tangle, and it really can be held well. Even the feeling of the cable felt really good. Now, I also did get the extra padding, so this is the non-vented, and then the stock is going to be vented. Now, once we open it up, you can actually see that it's easy to really take off, so that's really cool. That's super easy to swap. It's like a Velcro-ish type thing, and you see the line on the bottom of the pad, so that's where you should be lining up with the actual jack. And then of course there's the mod inside, so they said that they did some kind of change with the mod and it's supposed to help with the sub bass, so we're really gonna have to see, does this help and is it even better in any way? So that's gonna be a big test in the actual review itself. And you can see the large planar right there. Now, I'm excited, right? Having a planar that big, I would hope that it's gonna be really amazing in terms of sound, and I'm hoping that it's gonna be the headphone that I would want to use always. Overall, the build, even like the cutouts on the sides for the open back, is actually really nice. It doesn't have any sharp cuts, doesn't feel like I'm gonna cut myself. And overall, yeah, the Velcro, I noticed just in general, like while I'm just playing with it right now, is it's a little bit hard to get it perfectly aligned, so have to be careful with that and really precisely place it. And the headband feels a little bit thin. I'm not a big fan of that thin feeling. It just feels like a little bit too thin there. Now, the weight wise, it's 526 grams, so it is quite heavy, and even when I was holding it, I did feel that weight there. So first, before we go into even doing the review with my friend, let's go and take a look at the pricing. So you can see here the Fosi Audio i5 is 550 USD. That is not a cheap price. At the Kickstarter, I believe it was 300 something USD at the time, but $550 is not a cheap price, especially once you consider like all the other different options out there. I think one of the other ones I was thinking about getting was like the FIO FT1 Pro, and that's a closed back, but they also the FT1 Pro, which is going to be the open back, and then the FT1 with the closed back. But now I'm actually considering the FT13. As you can see with the pricings as well, so you can get all these accessories separately. It does really add up to very expensive pricing. Like you're looking at paying about 660 USD for everything, specific what I got. Now, that isn't a cheap price, I know, but for some people that might be worth it if you want to get all these different add-ons. But you will see in the review the specifics that I'm going to say and think that what is worth and what is not worth in terms of modifying it and really getting that sound. But overall, this is not a cheap headphone. It's going to be a quite high investment, I think. It's not like the high-end pricing where you're looking at $1,000 or a couple $1,000s, but I would say even for like the regular person or someone that's kind of newer to the whole audio scene, this is definitely a very, very steep price to pay. Now, just to look at the graph itself, so this is what it was looking at with just the stock, how it is. This is without the mods, and then just like the whole sound profile. So the sub bass really goes down a lot, and it was missing like sub bass pretty much completely. And then you're looking at a lot of different peaks and valleys that are going through the whole from 1K to past 10K, and you can really kind of hear them when you do use them. Like when I personally use them, I did feel that it was a little bit peaky in the trebles, and I'm not a big fan of this peak between like 8 and 12K. Around there is something that's very uncomfortable for my ears, so I could hear that. I'm gonna have to show you guys a little bit later with the specific EQ that I use that I personally preferred. And then this is gonna be with the new, of course, with like the mods and then the original. So you can see the sub bass does go up a lot, and this is specifically like how they're doing the measurements with the actual modifications and the unvented padding. So I gotta appreciate, like, you know, how Headphone really does have a lot of people that are providing these graphs, really does help. And then this is gonna be the EQ. So this is the EQ that I personally think at the end of the day sounds the best with these, and it's gonna be without any of the modifications, but you will actually have to really hear the whole review of it, of why we got there and how I ended up going to this EQ, because I did record the review a little bit earlier than doing all of this. So hopefully you guys can really kind of get the whole gist of this headphone in terms of is it worth it or is it not, and how it helps. So we just came back from doing the unboxing, and today I have Han with me to actually do a review of the Fosi Audio i5, and that's because he has the Sennheiser HD800S, and I thought it'd be good to try to see a comparison. And he's also got the FIO FT1, so we can kind of see what our opinions are and start with that. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about the build quality, and I'd love to hear what Han thinks about the build quality first.
So I thought the build quality was pretty nice. The build itself I think is very solid. The only gripe that I have with it is that the sliders, even though they are notched, they're just they have no tactile feedback, and they just slide back and forth without any sort of clicks. So that's pretty much the only gripe I have. I think like the grills are very well done. They're like smooth to touch. They're not gonna cut you open, unlike some headphones. And what about you, Mikey? What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I actually do enjoy the build quality as well. I think the design of the headphones is really nice. From my personal experience with it, is that the grills and like the colors and the wood finish looks incredible. The only thing I had issues with was the head, and it's just because it feels like it was very cheaply done and very kind of lazy in a way. Like that's how to explain it, is that they were a little bit lazy with the finish of the design and this whole metal piece here, because it just hurts your head. And as you can see with these sliders here, the left side is incredibly loose, where it's super easy to just slide with it, while the right side actually has a little bit of that like I would say force to help you really know where you're moving it. So that's where I say the laziness comes in. It's just these kind of small things that really should have been looked at, because there are notches. If you look really in depth with it, which I'll show you guys close up with it later, is that you can see the notches there, but you don't feel the notches, which is quite unfortunate. Like that's what I mean by laziness. But other than that, I think the build quality for the Kickstarter price is actually really well done. Current price with like how they're pricing it is a little bit on the cheap side, I feel like, for the whole build. Now, of course, we're gonna go into just like the comfortability of and wearing it. Now, if I wear it on my head, this is what I feel. I have a lot of weight pressing down right here on top of my head. You do not get enough clamp force on the sides, where you get too much of the weight just on top of your head, and because of that, I couldn't find myself wearing this for longer than an hour. Like an hour was the maximum of wearing time I could get because otherwise it hurt my head too much. And then because of the weight of the headphones, I actually ended up having too much weight on the back of my neck. So then it would hurt the back of my neck too. And I would like hunch over and do like the turtle, which was really bad. And from my experience with it, comfort wise, it feels good on my ears, but it just does not feel good on my head or neck. What about you, Han?
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. Like the pads feel good. I think the pads are good quality, so they feel nice like on your ears. But I have the same issue with the headband of the headphones themselves. I feel like there's just not enough clapping force. Like it's ridiculously easy to pry these open compared to something like the 800S, which has a lot more clamping force. So the ear cups themselves don't really support the weight very much, so all that weight is just on top of your head. And this sort of suspended headband design is known to have issues like the leather stretching, and it's known to cause hot spots on the top of your head. So I echo what Mikey has said.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate, really. I think they could have really done a little bit better with that, and honestly provide some kind of maybe modification that would help with it if you like tighten something, but there isn't really a way for you to tighten it. Now, there was a thing that we did try that helped a lot with it, which was like getting the extra pads on top. So if you buy an extra pad to like attach to the top of it, it will make it more comfortable, allows for a lot more clamping force, and that for me really helped to like extend my usage of the headphones. But because of the weight of them still, I couldn't go past like 2 hours of usage. I ended up taking them off and just putting in my earphones because it just felt too heavy. Now we're listening to quite a lot of different music, and we even tried doing EQ. We tried all the different modifications. So to explain to you guys what they did, the current one with stock headphones you get are the ventilation, like ventilated pads. So that's stock. Then they provide you an extra option for pads, which is the non-ventilated. So that was the original thing that Fosi wanted to do, was pretty much i5, ventilated pads, and then non-ventilated pads. Then people complained with the reviewers, and everyone was saying the sub bass was horrible. So Fosi made a modification, which was add these like rubber rings to the inside of the headphones. And I'll show you guys up close, right, so you can take a look. These modifications are supposed to help you with increasing the sub bass, increasing the bass of these headphones, because around the 80, it's pretty much dies off really hard and you don't really get it much. First of all, we tried like different genres of music. We tried electronic, we tried hip hop, we tried rock, and then jazz, as well as just like, you know, female vocals and comparing it to like male vocals. The thing I realized for me was when I listen to hip hop with these, you don't get that fun bass. You really lack a lot of that like oomph and like that boom that you would want with your bass. And when it was stock, right, with just the like ventilated foam, the pads, and no mods or anything, that's kind of the sound you get. It's like a clean sound, but no bass, no fun. When I listen to like a guitar or like instrumental music, it sounded really nice though. Like it has that clean sound to it, and they did a great job with the response from the planars. But the bass is just where it's lacks once you get into the, you know, rock songs or like hip hop, rap, and then the peaks are still there though, even without any of like the mods. Is there are peaking at like the high range, and with electronic music it does like pierce your ears. That's really what I felt, that it was piercing my ears. When I got into using the ventilated pads, the non-ventilated pads, I felt the bass, like the sub bass got better, specifically the mid bass was getting better, and the mid bass really felt stronger, but you lose a little bit of like the cleanness in the song, and the headphones start to get a little bit mushy and start to get like not as clear. And that's what I felt was quite unfortunate, because when you start adding in the different pads, it became more towards a like non-clean, non-real sound. It felt fake. Like it felt fake to me. When I heard a real drum being played, it didn't feel like it was a real drum, but more like a electronically made sound from a drum. And then once you add the mods in it, yes, you get, again, the sub bass comes in, and then you get kind of the worst of all worlds. Like you start having the whole peaks getting worse for you, and it hurts even more and pierces your ear. These headphones really aren't made for someone that loves bass. I'd say if you are someone who just likes jazz and classical music, this is really well done it's its own. It's just unfortunate when you get into that bassy songs and like if you like a wide genre of music. We tried EQing though, and my favorite out of all of them was having the ventilated pads, no mod, and just EQ it. The reason being is when you add all these things, you lose the airiness. It feels like a closed back headphone, but it's not a closed back headphone. So then you get this really awkward space where it's trying to be a closed back headphone, but it's supposed to be an open back, and you're not getting the best of both worlds or get best of any worlds, and it just becomes really messy. So I personally preferred that if you EQ it, and it has the ability to be EQ'd quite a bit. So that's the thing I was surprised with is it does have that ability. You can actually EQ quite a lot, and by doing so, it makes it so much better. And especially Han helped me with that. Like Han's the expert with the EQ, and he really worked on it. But of course, I want to know what Han's opinion is because he's used the 800S and so many different more headphones than I have. So I'd love to hear what his thoughts are.
Yeah, so I think I have a generally similar idea of how I want to describe the sound as Mikey said. I think first and foremost, these headphones are a mid-forward sound. So if you're a bass head or if you're a treble head, then you're really not going to like the stock sound of these headphones very much. However, though, them being planars and the drivers are quite big, you can EQ them quite a lot without having distortion. So if you're a tinkerer who likes to EQ their headphones, then I could probably recommend this if said you wanted like a mid-forward headphone. That being said, I think on the spectrum of having less bass and more air, I think the stock pads, so those are the vented pads with no mods, I think they are the least bassy and the most airy. And on the far end of the other spectrum, the most bass and the least amount of airiness, I think we have the non-vented pads with the mods. So we both agreed that the mods reduce the airiness and increase the sub bass by quite a bit, and the non-vented pads add some mid bass, but it also introduces a lot of peaky treble. So there's quite a lot of what feels like dissonance almost in the treble region when you add the non-vented pads. So my experience with it was that for hip-hop, electronic, and rock music, I think your best bet is to use the stock pads with no mods, because that will provide the necessary amount of airiness, because usually those mixes are quite busy. And for jazz, ballads, and classical music, I think I think you're best off going with the stock pads or maybe the non-vented pads, because it does add some bass back to the mix. And I think that's all I had to say about the sound.
Yeah, no problem. We did also try gaming with this, and you guys should know that I play a lot of Apex, and I use these for like sound during the game. Normally I use the IEMs. So the IEMs I come from are the Dita Project M, and that's what I was using. But unfortunately, Dita Project M's spatial awareness and like the distance that you can get for sound is not as good. And that's why I tried these i5s, because I wanted to see if I can hear more footsteps, get a lot more sound. The thing that I noticed is that it's a little bit narrow. So we listened to the song Bubbles, and that one was supposed to test like, the spatial awareness, like the spread and how wide the soundstage was. Unfortunately, what I felt was it was a little bit narrow. So what I mean by narrow is distance-wise, you're looking at like 1 meter max in terms of like surround sound. So I was listening for sounds that would be close, and in games, like if a gunshot goes off, if someone's fighting, sometimes you want to know the distance, right? You want to see how far they're fighting before you run at another team. And the thing I felt was even a really far fight sounded very close. So my perspective of distance was not great, because that's how the i5 felt. Like it just doesn't give you that good awareness for distance, but it's good for directions. So it tells you which directions, but the only issue is distance. So I have no idea how close it is. Otherwise, I did feel they were really good. You're catching a lot of sounds close to you, so very, very close. Like if you have a third party like coming in, you'll catch the footsteps, but you won't know exactly how far they are is the only issue. Han, what was your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts are almost the same. I think that these have a decently wide soundstage. They're not crazy wide, but they are very accurate in terms of positioning. So the audio cues, you will be able to pinpoint pretty much which direction they're coming from, not necessarily how far they're coming from. And the thing that I found most interesting about the soundstage on these guys is that they have quite a bit of a tall soundstage. So if you have a lot of vertical audio cues in the games that you play, you'll pretty much pick them up relatively easier than say even the 800S, because the 800S, while they are wide horizontally, they're not very tall sound stages. Yeah, so
Yeah, it was quite impressive because like the 800S is known to be one of like the high end, a lot of people's end game goals for headphones. And when I tried it too in games, the sound that you get from the 800S was crazy. Like it's literally, it feels like you're cheating in a way. While the i5s, honestly, I was hoping for that kind of experience, but yeah, it was not even close to it, which was unfortunate. Overall, we're going to go into the pricing. So I got to get these around like the 300 USD point from Kickstarter, right? So Kickstarter had a really good deal, and I also got the VIP. At 300 USD, I think, yes, these would be very worth it at that price range. Right now, these things are going for about 500. So going into the price range, there's a price for these. I was able to get these for, because I bought it in Canadian, so it was 515 Canadian for everything, meaning the pads, the extra pads, the extra cables. So I got a 4.4 as well. Also got the XLR adapter. So that all came out to 515 Canadian. Right now, these stock go for about 550 Canadian. That's quite expensive, like when you consider it, right? I was able to get a deal with everything because the pads alone and like the extra pads, the cables, the XLR adapter all together equal about 120, 130 USD. So when you consider that, I was able to get a good deal, but I think if they priced this more towards like say the FIO FT1, I think that would have been an amazing price. If this was at the price of FT1, they would have done an even better like sales, and I think more people will be looking at this right now even saying this is a good headphone to grab for open back. But at the current price, I think it's a little bit pricey. I think FIO should maybe look to reduce the price a little bit, and that would help a lot. Sorry, did I say FIO? I meant Fosi. So Fosi should really look to reduce the price a little bit, just because right now the FIO FT1s are still doing amazing. Like the FT1 Pros are planars too, that is still a little bit cheaper than these, and those are planars as well. I think at that point, I would personally, after trying this, would rather go try the FT1 Pro than save the dollars, right? It's lighter, it's gonna be a little bit better for the head clamp and everything. Yeah, like that's what I would think, right? It's if there are better options, even if you have to EQ. At the end of the day, because I have to EQ these anyways, why don't I save money by spending less and then EQ something else? That's just my perspective. I think if I'm not going in like an end game level of headphones, yeah, I would probably save my money and then EQ if I have to EQ these anyways. What about you, Han?
I think at the current selling price, I think these are. I personally would not recommend these. This would not be my first recommendation to anyone who wants a open back planar. I think my recommendation actually would be to get the FIO FT1 Pro, or perhaps the Odyssey MM500, because they both are planars, and the characteristics for planars are that they're really easily EQable because they have naturally low distortion than dynamic drivers. So if you wanted to EQ them, all of them can take EQ very well, but I would rather that you spend your money on something that has a better headband, something that you can wear for a longer period of time, and something that has a better bass sound than the Fosi i5s, because at its bass sound, I find them to be lacking in the sub bass severely, and they have some peaky, treble, and upper mid range that may or may not deduct from your overall listening experience, depending on the genres that you like to listen to. But I think if this was your only open back planar headphone, then I probably would not recommend this at this price. If it was priced closer to maybe $250, then maybe it could be my recommendation, but at this price it's not gonna make it.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point, and I agree. It's at the current price range, it's just a little bit high. Yes, you can EQ it, and it has a potential, but it's just lacking. Even the EQ wise, I showed you guys a little bit of the EQ, what was my suggestion, but I'll have it linked like with an image or whatever I can to help you guys be able to kind of EQ it, which I think is a better way to listen to this. And of course, I hope you guys enjoy this new channel that I'm building. I am doing two different channels. This is going to be my main, just pure all tech channel, while Mikey Types is going to be my keyboard for more enthusiast channel. So hopefully you guys can really see the difference, and hopefully you enjoy both channels. Subscribe on this one, and of course, go check out Mikey Types, other videos I have, and make sure to subscribe, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.